Welcome back, it's time for your aviation news recap, and unfortunately today there is a lot of coverage on cancellations and flight suspensions. But on top of that, there's actually been some fantastic growth at an Icelandic-based carrier, and coverage on Airbus deliveries as they look towards targeting a full year total of 720 units. But beginning right off the bat, Delta has announced it will suspend operations towards Tel Aviv and Israel until October 31st, 2023 at the absolute earliest. The decision from the major US carrier comes following the escalating tensions in the region that do put commercial operations such as these at risk. And with any kind of safety concern present, well, naturally it is something to keep an eye on. Yesterday, Delta was one of the big three airlines, as you might recall, thanks to the coverage in the other video, that announced they would halt flights to and from Israel. However, at that point, it was yet to actually put a time frame on the resumption. They now do become the first airline in the United States to give us a firm date on when they would look to resume flights. But again, this is just a tentative date. Given everything that is happening in that region, and if the situation doesn't improve, you can fully expect this to be another one of those situations where we see it continuously pushed back. During the initial announcement as well, all carriers agreed that they would only resume services once they believed that the safety could be assured for their passengers, crew, and general operations. Security and safety is of the highest priority, and as such, if they were to continue flying now, they believe there would be considerable concerns for protecting all those involved. In a statement, Delta did say that as they monitor the events, they have made the difficult decision to cancel the operated services to Tel Aviv. Per Cirium data, Delta actually operated 58 flights in September 2023 between Atlanta and Tel Aviv. There were 55 flights offered between the combo of New York JFK and Tel Aviv, this being a 6.8% drop in September 2022's performance. And lastly, the Boston Logan and Tel Aviv pairing saw 26 total flights for September 2023. This frequency did stay the same year on year from 2022. Per Fox News Digital, Delta did note it would be working directly with the US government to assist those who needed or wanted to return home. This would likely be done in the manner of repatriation flights, something witnessed during the global pandemic when we know citizens were stuck right around the world. Additionally, the airline says it'll look towards key partner airlines that are still flying throughout the region to help customers who have had their Delta flights cancelled. On to the next topic of the day, and that is with coverage at Airbus, that have announced they've delivered 55 aircraft in September, following its latest orders and deliveries report. As a result of the deliveries in September being declared, the yearly total tallies 488 jets. Airbus did outline its 2023 targets towards the back end of the last calendar year. They cited that 720 deliveries were the ultimate goal for this year. With 488 jets delivered thus far at the end of September, Airbus will be once again, according to many, up against the odds, attempting to hit that target of 720. A total of 232 aircraft will need to be delivered in October, November, and December to reach their end target. It is a 3-month period, and they'll certainly be up against it. In 2022, you might recall that the European plane maker delivered under 700 jets. This meant that despite the company's very late push to reach its target, it was not able to hit the 700 mark that it had outlined it wanted to achieve in 2021. One of the biggest stumbling blocks for plane makers currently within the industry is the continued pressure on supply chains. Manufacturers have been scrambling as best as possible to deliver units on time, however they continue to fall short, with customers then expressing frustrations over continued delays as they have to adjust their own network. As a result of all of this and the delays paired with issues internally, well, they've resulted in the likes of Airbus continuously missing yearly targets. Airbus delivered 55 aircraft to 34 different customers during September 2023. As you would expect, the A320neo family aircraft stole the show, with 44 of the 55 being for this family. It included your A319neo, A320neo, and lastly A321neos, with the other narrow-body delivered being for 4 units of the A220. Airbus's A350 and A330neo widebodies were also present. Back to flight cancellations and suspensions, key airlines within the Asia Pacific region have announced the suspension of flights towards Tel Aviv, citing also safety concerns. This includes notably Korean Air, which announced its October 9 service would not go ahead and would see continued cancellations. Cathay Pacific, meanwhile, has cancelled its October 10 flight departing from Hong Kong. While only an initial cancellation for just one date, the expectation is further updates will follow for services in the future. Air India has temporarily suspended to Tel Aviv at this stage, with the carrier, yes, noting it would resume flights on October 14th. However, I think many people would argue that given the current situation, this probably won't occur. Meanwhile, in the US, as aforementioned, we already have your Delta, United Airlines, and American Airlines suspending operations to and from Israel. Meanwhile, other global airlines have reacted to the conflict. In direct response, we've seen the Air France KLM Group, ITA Airways, Wizz Air, Norwegian, Ryanair, and EasyJet all suspending these flights. Some carriers are continuing to fly to and from the country, however they are adjusting their timings and say they're being very wary of the situation. El Al is looking to increase its operations in direct response to the multiple global airlines cancelling flights and suspending operations, as they also have a view to increase bringing people back to Israel to help. Over at Play Airlines, they've recorded strong growth for September, highlighting continued improvement within the industry. The airline says it carried 163,000 passengers in September, representing a 70% increase for the same month 1 year prior, where only 92,000 passengers were carried. Load factors in 2022 stood at 81.5%, but they have increased it for the same month this year to 85%. Interestingly as well, when really understanding the passengers carried, 22.9% were departing from Iceland, where 31.6% were travelling there. The largest portion of traffic was 45.5%, and this was for connecting passengers. Ultimately, the substantial increase in passengers carried and the recently discussed profits that they've recorded during the summer season are all thanks to a continued network expansion, notably thanks to the addition of new Airbus aircraft, 4 units in total that have since joined. Play does currently operate one of the youngest fleets within Europe that includes the A320 family. A lot of its aircraft do actually average an age of under 1 year. That's going to conclude today's aviation news recap. Make sure you are staying tuned for much more coverage on the aviation industry. As always, I do greatly appreciate your support and look forward to you joining me at the same time, same place tomorrow, where I'll take a look at the latest industry developments. Please do take care and be safe, and I'll see you then.